And so it's a redirection to focus on the value or the nutrients, right? What
Mm,
is actually good and what is going to support the economic activity in the country. And, I think it's a fair narrative. It's fair to really look at the fact that some things the market may not be ready for at this time.
mm,
There
mm.
needs to be more education. There needs to be more examples, more use
Exactly.
cases. We
Mm,
need to collect more data. But for now, these are the things that are available. These are the things that you can do. And, I always look at technology as an evolution of our understanding of how you can use it and what are the pros and cons along the way. And for example, even with Bitcoin mining, in the US, Americans, when they hear Bitcoin, they really don't have much understanding. And I'm speaking very generally, but I can't because I'm American here. They don't really have much understanding on Bitcoin except for buying and selling. The idea of Bitcoin mining seems to be something that is unattainable. You have to be very knowledgeable about cryptocurrency. You need to have this, you need to have that. And so, once again, there's a need to educate. There's a need to sort of onboard in that space. And maybe you can talk a bit about that myth. I mean, if someone comes and says, I cannot mine Bitcoin, I don't have a rig of my own.
Yes.
yeah.
We already provide a solution just now. It's by the cloud
Yes.
mining. But I understand this, just talking about my own experience. Before I was shifting to crypto industry, my only understanding about this industry is all high risk. From a
Mm,
bank's
mm.
compliance
Yes.
perspective, untouchable, high
Yes.
risk stuff. Because you don't understand how it works, how is the mechanism behind. And just as you said, it's like in Singapore, why I like Singapore government, they take um I would think a proactive approach
Mm,
here. It's like some part of the world I don't understand. I just don't touch. I ban it as a
mm.
whole.
Yes.
Because I don't understand. But Singapore's like, okay, kids, if you guys want to do, maybe that me as a parent understand it first. Tax if it's risky or not, or like, is that if it's risky, what is the level? Is that uh takeable, or is that something we can take and we make it better? So you guys can try out. So that is like more experimental, although everyone back then it's not very clear about like what's
Yeah.
going on and where we are heading for, because we have many new products, just like not just crypto mining. Crypto mining is just like where the coins is mined, but transaction and like then custodian and then all these kind of things. Like even I stay in this industry for 5 years, I'm still like quite confused of like new ideas, like how it works. So this educational thing is just like, I would say, not just like as a layman, like we as industry player provide you a very straightforward solution, just follow. But even for us in the field, we are educating ourselves every day.
Yes.
And regulators, I was, I don't dare to use the word educate. We teach each
We
other.
share. Yeah.
We share like our perspective. Sometimes like my own perspective is you don't understand something enough, you don't dare to try. So we see the tendency like more and more government trying to regulate and trying to allow like give the bridge between crypto product and the traditional financial instrument, because
Mm.
they are getting more and more comfortable with our efforts as compliance and legal people. We
Yes.
convince them, although the risk is here, here's the control.
Mm.
Here's the control. We can mitigate the risk and make it more accessible to the like market, to the mass market. So that like everyone got protected, yet you can invest, just like traditional financial institutions. So education thing is important, but it's like the whole industry is learning together. That's my perspective. I don't know
Yeah.
if that answered your question.
Yeah.
Well, I'll second what Justine says, right? In our experience, MES has been very consultative with the industry as a whole. you can see from all their consult papers that they really take into consideration what the industry gives as feedback. And one thing that we have observed is that as a regulator, they have a fairly high level of understanding of the underlying technology, and they're not like giving just a blanket, oh, this anything to do with crypto is risky. No, in fact, they are they are very able to differentiate the use of the application and maybe only specific users of application of the blockchain technology, specific users of this DLT technology, which they may not want to encourage. Whereas as a whole, they may see that this technology might be an enabler for either new use cases or more efficient users of existing practices. So I think MES has been trying very much to learn, like they're just trying to figure out like how does this new technology work within the existing financial ecosystem, and does it create and expand the existing financial ecosystem? And I think that dialogue has been very, very important. And so in what Justine has mentioned, they are very eager to learn. They're very eager to understand. And I think in terms of the policy forming and the legislative process, they've also been very progressive. Right? In looking forward to the future, how should financial regulations be? What are those principles? And how then does it apply to these different new technologies that come up? So that's been our experience. And I think for most of the people who can see all the consult papers and see MES like explaining their policy positions, I think it becomes quite apparent that we, I would say, as a operator here in Singapore, I think we feel very confident and very comfortable that there's a level of visibility now and in the future.
Yeah, I think that in terms of myths, right, it's very often when you look at crypto Twitter, especially, you will see extreme caricatures of the regulator's position.
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
so
yes.
it's either MES loves crypto or hates it.
Yes.
For some, it's like there's no middle ground,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So I remember back in 2018, suddenly President Taman, back then he was not president yet, but he was either chairman or something at MES. He suddenly came out in the news and said, I'm all for blockchain technology. It is the fraud and speculation I do not like. And I was thinking, why would he talk like crypto wasn't anything? You know, it wasn't that big. Then I open up my crypto Twitter, right?
Yeah.
And scammers are sending me stuff where they photoshopped his face and they put a quote in and said, you should buy this coin, you will moon. And I was like, that's what it was. That's what it was. You know, because he couldn't outright call it the coin, because then you draw attention to
Yes.
the scammer, right?
Yeah.
You don't want that, right? So, but it was like, that's the nature of things. So then, of course, the delusion in crypto Twitter start to separate that into some extreme examples. So for us, when we were at Sparrow, and doing the license application, now remember, derivatives is not a regulated activity for digital assets, especially at that time. We just focus on spot money changing, basically. And so we said, but you know, they're not going to like it if we don't tell them the full scale of what we're doing. So we did. We took the plunge. We said, we'll file a 60-page filing and let them know exactly what we're doing end to end. We were never penalized. We were never, you know, treated badly or whatever. Instead, we got very relevant, good questions to understand. All the questions were on the basis of trying to understand our business and our model.
Yep.
Now, I'll tell you this. Another company we're friends with, and they filed, you won't believe it, they filed their own self-written legal opinion. And they said, no, because now MES has come out and said that they are all for crypto. So they were taking a very bullish approach. They said, we filed a 1-page legal opinion. And I went, on your business, you're doing some interesting stuff, you know, you're not that different from us. They go, no, it's obvious. Everyone knows what Bitcoin is. And I'm like, oh God. Yeah. So this is what I mean. Like sometimes we have these very extreme views of, you know, or when MES says we want as many people to apply, then they take it as, why is MES taking so long to issue the license? I thought you want more license holders. But actually they don't realize that what MAS wants is high quality license holders, responsible ones. So, and that takes a bit more work. It takes a bit more time.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
I mean, there's this online, particularly, there is a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of misinformation that happens on platforms like Twitter or X. And the only way to really combat that is to talk to people who've actually done it, who've actually gone through it, and then to have a good relationship with the regulator. I would say with the regulator, and I think that that's probably a best practice is to, set up and establish that relationship first. You don't just walk up to your friend that you haven't seen in 2 years and say, "Hey, let me borrow your car." You
Yeah.
basically need to have an ongoing relationship. And that might be something that there's a huge opportunity for people to do is,
Yes.
and this is not just for Singapore, but generally in any sort of regulatory spaces, have that relationship, have that ongoing conversation, that consultative process that
Yes.
you're talking about. And then, when your application is ready, then you submit. And I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that.
The teachers would be able to tell who really pay attention to their homework. It's just very easy to identify, say, one page of legal opinion versus, like a 60 page of real assessment. It's quite different. So the MA is quite sophisticated, so they know what they're looking for. Yeah.
And just to be
Yeah.
clear, I'm not saying you have to file a 60 page.